Welcome to today's Operation Next executive panel discussion, negotiating risk, security, and budget across the board. Those are three often challenging issues: risk management, security, and budget. I'm Michael Krause, and I'm pleased to have with us three experts in this area. I've got a leading global enterprise security executive, Adam Lee, Chief Security Officer at Dominion Energy. He'll represent security's perspective in our discussion. And you should know, before joining Dominion, Adam had a distinguished career at the FBI. So, Adam, thanks for being here. We've also got an experienced corporate board member, Frank Madderson. He's the one by the fireplace. Frank serves on the boards of a leading technology company, Zebra Technologies, and a leading bank, First Midwest Bank. He's a longtime chief information officer, and I should add that Frank's comments are his own. He does not represent either of the companies where he serves on the board, and we're delighted to have Frank with us today. And third, we'll hear operating management's perspective from Kelly Bissell. Kelly's the global lead at Accenture Security, and he throughout his career has worked with the C-suite, and he's very attuned to many of the C-suite's issues. So again, to tease out, the challenges of building a view on risk management, security, and spending, and to create that balance, we're going to use the stop, continue, and start framework. Let me ask my panelists for an icebreaker question. And Adam, I'll start with you. What do you see as the biggest challenges in assuring OT and ICS effectiveness?
Well, thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody. So I could speak for a long time, and I know the other panelists could as well, about sort of tactical solutions for IT/OT environments and providing effective security defenses there. But I think for us, in our 2-year transformation here at Dominion Energy, one of the nation's largest energy companies with $100 billion in assets spread across 20 states, serving about 10% of the U.S. population as energy customers. For us, it was really defining the governance role of security to the business segments. Services companies across industry elements like ours, and analogs in large-scale manufacturing and transportation and other areas where you have large OT environments that are part of the revenue-generating business segments of the company, sort of establishing that cybersecurity in the OT space is essential to managing risk. And, compliance standards are your baseline, but compliance is not security. And being a good partner to the business segments in building layered defenses, in ensuring telemetry to your cybersecurity operations center, leveraging your SIM to track the logs and activities within those environments that could give indications of penetration. So it's really demonstrating to the leadership, to the board, to the C-suite, that security understands the criticality of continuity of operations, but also is working in partnership with the business segments to manage risk in the security areas.
Thanks, Adam. I'll come back to you soon on this, but Kelly Bissell, representing C-suite management.
Yeah.
What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think the C-suite really wants basically four things. They want, how do we execute the strategy of the CEO, which is generally around how do we expand sales and have consistent sales, so resilience, if you will, of operations. How do we balance the investments with cost and the risk? So we really have to understand from a security standpoint, what do we do and what do we not do in security, both in the InfoSec side and the OT. And then the management really wants to get a seamless groups to work together across InfoSec and OT and really pour into those innovations, sales, plant management, supply chain, distribution, all that stuff, so that it's a fluid, seamless ops. Because at the end of the day, the C-suite really wants to keep operations running, protect against ransomware. How do they ensure resilience of operations? That's really what they want, so they can serve customers better.
Thank you for that, Kelly. Frank, as a board member and a longtime technical leader, what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, as a board member, what I want to do is represent the shareholders, and I want to make sure management is enabled and doing their job to protect the company, but also really deliver on the strategy. So what I just heard from Adam and from Kelly was exactly, as a board member, what I want to hear. Are we being proactive, driving the strategy, growing the company, moving forward, serving our clients in a safe manner that we're not going to get surprised, that maybe we're not perfect, but are we proactively looking at the technology? Because technology is always changing. Are we taking advantage of it in a safe manner?
Okay. Let me try to turn this a little bit lightning round, but I don't want to lose any of the content. I want to run through what are the one or two things we got to stop doing. Adam, I heard earlier from Push Kumar at Southern California Edison that we shouldn't be a hindrance, but be a partner to the business. But with that as a springboard, what are the things we've got to stop doing?
Yeah, so I think, you kind of alluded to it already. I think we need to stop viewing the business segments as sort of standalone fiefdoms, if you will, where engineers are sort of dictating to the leadership there what the requirements are around security within those OT environments. We have technologists in the cyber, historically IT technologists in the cyber area here that are building baseline security standards for the OT environment that we really need to work in partnership with those folks to promulgate. But once we've promulgated them, we need to make them our enterprise standard so that we have some degree of assurance to the board, to the C-suite, that we don't have weakness in a certain area. And this is particularly true for us in the unregulated space. We're aggressively building out in the renewables areas, right? With offshore wind, with solar. And these are areas that historically for NERC and NERC-CIP and some of the other regulatory schemes that help build a baseline for security in those operational environments, we have to build those ourselves for some of the lower megawatt producing power generation facilities. And that largely means the renewables. And that's the future for us. So we need to stop viewing those business segments as sort of standalone fiefdoms and now start working together. That's right.
Well said, Adam. Kelly, from the C-suite's perspective, what do you tell people to stop doing?
I like that. No more fiefdoms. I think that's really good from Adam, and that might be the most important one. But the other one's, stop buying, I think, the shiniest tool available on the market, but really move towards better use of those tools and efficacy, like deploy it throughout the enterprise before you buy new stuff, if you will. And I think that's what we got to be on those basics around that org.
All right. And Frank, again, as a board member, what do you want to see management and the CISO and the chief security officer gently stop doing? What don't I do at the board level?
Talk and technobabble.
Give me one more. I definitely agree. Talk in business terms, but what else?
But it's be careful of the technobabble, because I have board decks that we get that have lists of 10 pages of acronyms at the back. It's like, really, guys? Can we move past the babble? Yes. Right? Be articulate. And it may sound simple, it still happens. Right? So look at when you're going, particularly when you're going to go talk to the board, they don't track at your level. They don't track at Kelly's and Adam's level on technology. You have to talk in a manner that everyone in the room can understand.
Well said, and great advice to our participants today. All right, let's keep moving. Continue, and I'll sweep the same way. Adam, what are the one or two things you've learned at Dominion that you'd say, Michael, we got to keep doing these things? Continue.
So you'll be pleased to know we're having discussions with Accenture this afternoon on penetration testing capabilities in the OT environment. So I think those kinds of proactive, we've built a cyber range in the cloud to train our technologists, things that are going to make your cybersecurity discipline smart predictive, proactive. I think, particularly for big sort of enterprises like ours that have been around for over a century, you're talking about sometimes calcified notions around, hey, compliance is king. If we get audited against the compliance standards and we come out with positive result, our environments are secure. I think what we need to start doing is taking that nimble view, all based upon risk. I so agree with what Frank said, that if you can communicate to your board how you're scoping security around risk, are you building a risk register where you understand where your greatest threats, gaps, and vulnerabilities reside to your enterprise, and you're able to tell a story to your board and your leadership, enhance where you need to, scale back where your risk potentially is managed through some of those adherence to compliance standards, and be aggressive on testing your defenses constantly, because the adversaries are, particularly in energy environments and that sort of thing.
Well said. All right, Kelly, what are the things you'd say, Michael, we gotta continue doing it?
Yeah, I think we have to continue learning. We have to continue learning about how we make money in the business and where across that whole value chain. We have to continue to learn how to communicate effectively through the business language, like Frank said. And I think that we have to continue to learn where our partners are going. It could be our OT manufacturing partners, like PLCs, like Schneider Electric or what have you. Where are they going, and how do we best leverage that to protect the environment and get the most of it? So I think continue to learn is what we need to do.
Well said. And Frank, let me frame it this way. Assuming you were with the CEO and the chief security officer over a beer or over coffee, and you were coaching them as a board member, what would you say, hey, we've got to continue doing A or B? What is A or B?
Well, I think what I would focus on here is transparency. CEOs are generally very good about it. The rest of the leadership is always concerned about what they can tell, what they can share, what they can talk about, not talk about. And what I heard from both Adam and Kelly would play right into that. More transparency. The board wants to know. They want to know that really, when I used to present to the board, you want to tell them about all the great stuff you're doing, right? They assume that. They want to hear about the stuff that you're worried about, the things that could go bump in the night, right? Transparency is important. You don't want to scare the crap out of them, because you probably can, but how can you be more transparent so they can understand the risks that the companies are facing?
Well said. And all right, so we want to continue to be transparent. We want to continue to learn, and we want to continue to do those things to make sure we're testing our attack surface. I think I'm paraphrasing you well.
Yep.
But let's go to this generative and this harder question. Starting today, what would you be saying, Adam? What are the things that we got to start doing that we're not necessarily doing? What are the wish fors?
Well, the wish for me, and I can tell you we're making a lot of progress in this area, but it's still sort of a nascent area, is partnerships with government that are collaborative, as opposed to just trying to pull as much threat intelligence out of the agencies and the platforms that they've set up for industry. We are trying to achieve that sort of collective defense idea with Department of Homeland Security right now. They have capabilities to assist us in doing that. Again, this is maybe somewhat distinctive to energy sector, but I do think we might be a leader for other sectors to follow when it comes to threat intelligence, classified level information. I mean, we are the power company of the Pentagon and the Navy Yard and the three-letter agencies and all of that. So we're uniquely positioned for some of that. But government does aggregate a lot of the defense information that can enable your technologists to be smart, know where those vulnerabilities are. If you're talking about an expansive and distributed OT environment set within your enterprise, they can help vector you to where the risk resides within that network.
All right, before I go to Kelly on that one, so Adam, what I'm hearing is, I think Start considering better collaboration with DHS. The government may outsource more, but you can also benefit. Am I hearing that right?
Right.
All right. Kelly, the C-suite, what are the things we've got to start doing more of?
Yeah, I think that maybe just two things. One is how do we start focusing not on everything, but on the crown jewels that matter, that's going to stop production, stop customer service. And so we have to start doing that of laser focus. And maybe the other thing to start doing is to think about blending the teams into one. Back to Adam's fiefdom sort of comment, how do we actually think about us as one team, not as separate fiefdoms around the organization? And I believe the larger the company, the more likely to have those fiefdoms, but we have to fight that. We have to create that culture of family and teamwork so that we can become one team.
All right. So Kelly, are you talking about one integrated team of operations, finance, IT, security, IT, and OT? Are you talking about everybody?
I'm not talking about everybody, but adjacent groups. And this is where OT and IT really come into play. But it's not just them. They can't be in a vacuum because it does, what is the HR element of OT? What is the corporate development of OT? What is the M&A of OT? So I think it's the adjacent functions that really keep that operations running.
All right, we're going to run out of time soon, but Frank, give me the board's perspective on what do you want to see your company start doing?
Well, I'm going to talk about two starts, one tactical, one strategic. The tactical is, we've had some breaches recently. Companies have come forward and been more transparent about what the issues were. Reward and appreciate that transparency. Don't penalize it, reward it. That's a good thing. Strategically, it drives me nuts, particularly in large companies, how much old technology is laying around the place that's hard to protect. I'd love to see more companies be much more strategic about their journey with technology. How are we getting rid of all the little fiefdoms, all the different stuff that's laying all over the place that presents a ton of vulnerabilities? It's hard to manage when you have 70,000 different things running around. And I just don't see enough companies cleaning up the landscape. And that's a strategy that I don't see companies coming forward with enough.
Clean up the landscape and focus. Am I hearing you right, Frank?
Yes.
All right. That's all I think we have time for today. Adam, Kelly, Frank, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Outstanding program. We'll have a 5-minute break coming up. You don't want to miss Salo Arafi's comments or Dale Peterson's keynotes. We'll be right back, and thank you again for being at Operation Next. Thank you all.